So when Kevin sent me some songs to sing, and he sent me a bunch of Christmas songs and this one, and I thought, I'm not really ready to jump into Christmas tunes today, but we will on Wednesday night when we have the candle lighting service. And I've always loved this song. So I sent the song to Lori Savage, who's sitting right there, and she wrote me back, she sent me back a file, a picture for the song. And I was like, oh no, it's way too soft and romantic. And this song is all about now. I'm gonna do it right now. Do it now. And she wrote me back and she said, have you read the lyrics? She said, it's a song people sing at weddings. And I was like, oh, you're right. Yes, I've sang this at many a wedding myself. So I thought about it and I thought, well, wow, there's no mistakes. I don't believe in mistakes. I believe that when something comes up, you figure out, why did that happen that way? But then she gave me a slide that I liked better for what I was planning on talking about. And I was like, but marriage. So this is about marriage. And I knew what I wanted to talk about today. And then I went, of course, marriage. It's exactly the medium I need to discuss this thing in. My mentor, Dr. David Walker, when I went into ministerial school, on the first night of ministerial school, he basically said to us, he said, if there is anything else you can do other than be a minister, do it. And a couple people left the class. We really did. We lost 2 students that night at the end of the night because he was very sincere when he said, ministry is something that will be infused into every aspect of your life. And I just sat there going, yeah, but I'm not really going to be a minister. I'm an actor and I'm a director and I'm a writer, so I plan on giving talks in big locations with gigantic crowds, but staying an actor. And that all shifted. And he was right. So I want to start today's talk by just asking you, are you living the life that you want to live? And if there's anything else that you think you could be doing other than what you're doing now, now's the time. Now's the time to decide. You know what? I could be doing this. Because that's where I want us to go today. I want us to really think about our lives and what we're doing in our lives. So, I do a lot of teaching. I love being a minister. I absolutely love it. Do I miss acting sometimes? Sometimes there are moments I'm like, oh, I would have loved to have been in that. But then I realize I don't want to rehearse it. I also don't want to do it after opening night. It's a problem for most directors. Could you imagine? I'm not going to rehearse it, and I'll do opening night. That's it. Because after opening night, you have to do 8 shows a week. I remember when all the shows I did, there were always nights I'd be like, ugh, I got to do this again. And mostly the same way, so you're not like screwing up the other actors. So I do a lot as a minister, and I love everything I do as a minister, but one thing I do prominently is teach. And this year especially, I am teaching Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. That's a lot of teaching, right? So this week, as I was putting my talk together, I'm also teaching all week. And in my head, certainly since Laurie's idea of the marriage, I was like, so how is this all coming at me? So I wanted to bring a few of my salient moments from the week to bring the whole week together into this message today. So the very first quote I'm going to show you is from Monday night's class. And it's this: something happens to our thoughts after we think them. They go somewhere and return to us as memory. That is in our Monday night class, Big Magic. That is by Ernest Holmes. All of our classes are taking Ernest Holmes and bringing the contemporary writers into a conversation with Ernest Holmes. So something happens after our thoughts, after we think them. They go somewhere and return to us as memory. So how many of you have memories? Right. That's all you are. You are a collective of memories. As you sit here today, all of your memories sit in this place we call your subjective mind, or as Ernest Holmes calls it, the seed of memory, and create the life you're living right now. All of your memories, everything that's happened to you. And not only that, just to make it a little more incredible, all the memories of the entire universe are there. So it's not just your memories, it's all the memories of every person that's ever thought anything. That's what's sitting in your subconscious mind, your subjective mind. So on Tuesday, go to the next one. On Tuesday, I teach practitioner class to 12 practitioner students who are in their second year of practitioner studies. And we're reading James Hollis's book called Living the Examined Life. It's an amazing book based on Jungian psychology. And so this was the question on Tuesday night. Does this choice enlarge me or diminish me? And if you see this picture that I chose, does this guy feel diminished, or do you feel him small because of what you're looking at? Now just think about that. He's standing on top of a gigantic mountain looking at the entire universe. How big do you think that makes one feel? Amazing. But when you see the picture from the outside in, you see a tiny little man standing on top of this enormous mountain. The man seems diminished. So the question is, does this choice enlarge me or diminish me? So I'm going to take you back to your life and ask you to ask yourself, does the life you're living right now enlarge you or does it diminish you? On any level, do the choices you make your life bigger and more expansive every day, or are some of the choices you're making diminishing you, making you smaller, making your opportunities not so varied because you've somehow put yourself in this lane? So that was Tuesday night. That was a depressing night. One of the students said, these questions are very depressing. I was like, that's why we ask them. To find out, are you a good witch or are you a bad witch? Well, it was not such a good witch. So then on Wednesday night, I teach Consciousness Studies 2. And on Wednesday night, we are looking at string theory as it applies to Ernest Holmes. Now, that may seem complicated, but I'm teaching it, so it's not. Because what I know of string theory can fit in a thimble, but I'm really getting a lot out of it. It's good. So here's the quote. Now, this is Ernest Holmes as well. We do not have two minds, but we do have a dual aspect of mentality in what we call the objective and subjective states of consciousness. Now, I'm kind of doing what I teach ministers never to do, to teach during a service. My job on a Sunday is to inspire, not to teach. But today I'm going to inspire you and teach a little bit, so bear with me. So Ernest Holmes talks about my conscious mind. Is everybody here conscious today? It's an important thing for you to remember. We're all conscious. So you are consciously right now thinking, I can't even imagine what you're thinking, but I'm going to think that you're thinking good thoughts about me and what you're hearing. So we're all consciously thinking, but there's your subconscious, or as Ernest Holmes calls it, the subjective. So there's everything underneath what you're thinking, the subconscious mind, all those thoughts and beliefs and everything. And some people say that that means you have two minds. You have your conscious mind and your unconscious mind. No, one mind, two different states of being. And what's in that seed of memory in the subjective mind is really running a lot of your show. Old beliefs you had. Most of you grew up in some kind of family that taught you certain things, and you took those beliefs and took them to college, probably renegating against them, which also then created new beliefs based on your willingness to throw everything your parents taught you out the window. And you're in college. Then you take those beliefs and move them into the next part of your life. Now you've got all these beliefs all in your system, and they're running your show. And then you get to like an older age, like 40, or 67, or 76, trombones, and you've got a lot of beliefs, don't you? Yes? You have a lot of beliefs running your show, and some of them, you have not gone back. Was that you, Lori? A lot of those beliefs you haven't gone back and looked at. They're still running the show. And you put in buttons. How many of you installed buttons in yourself that other people push, you think? Who installed them? That means you have to uninstall them. It means you go back and look at your beliefs. So two states of mind, your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. So hold on to that, because that's really where this is all going. On Thursday nights, it's the advanced consciousness class. And that class is really about taking everything we know, throwing it in the air, and shooting holes in it. And just asking ourselves, what can I know about this? Questioning everything. So this Thursday night, our topic was this: what is God? Can you imagine what that was like? Well, there were only 18 people there. No, there were only 16 this week. 16 people spending 3 hours answering the question, what is God? Now, you may think there's not 3 hours worth of discussion there. Does anybody think that? Because really, we could have kept going. But what is God? Which brings us back to, what is God? Well, if God is who I am, then what am I? And if I am God, and I am all of this, then what's going on? Or, as Bert Bacharach said, what's it all about, Alfie? So my mind is both conscious mind and subjective mind, and it is God thinking. So what's going on in there? So the title of my talk today is Now or When? And really it's about you leaving this sanctuary today having made a decision that it's time. It's just time to know who you are. Time to know what you are. It's time to know all of these beliefs that have come up. It's time for you to know that something other than your conscious mind is running the show, and yet that your conscious mind can supervent all of it and decide in any moment to be done and to move on in a powerful way. So yesterday, I was driving out to the desert, and I have an aunt and uncle that sort of raised me, really amazing people. My aunt is Jewish, and my uncle is Catholic, was Catholic. She was Jewish. No, she always is Jewish, but she doesn't practice it. But yeah, she told me that once. I said, you're not Jewish anymore. She goes, once you're a Jew, you're a Jew. I was like, got it. Okay, and take that note. She passed last year during COVID, and it was heartbreaking to me because I spoke to her every day of my life, literally. And I call her every day. So I called my Uncle Al yesterday to ask, just to see how he was doing, how it was all going. And he says, well, first of all, he calls me Jamers because my aunt used to be a legal secretary. And one day she wrote me a letter, and she missed the letter, and she put Jamer instead of S. Instead of Dear James, it was Dear Jamer. And I called her, I went, you spelled my name wrong. She goes, no, I've decided to call you Jamers. I'm keeping the R and the S. So so that part of the family calls me Jamers. So anyway, I call him and he goes, Jamers, I'm so glad you called. I'm sitting in Jerry's room and I got out all of her photo albums. And I told you this yesterday. They're on the photo albums, they're on the bed. And I'm just looking at them. He goes, I said, I'm just amazed here. He said, do you know how handsome you used to be? I kid you not. That was the exact sentence he said. And I was first of all, I was driving on the 10, so I had to pay attention. And I was just like, and then you would have think he would have caught my pause and said, you're still handsome. Nope, He said, I mean it. He said, you had thick black hair and those chiseled features. He said, my God, you were so handsome. Pause. And I said, well, Al, I'm still... he says, oh, you're attractive now, but you were so handsome. It was a tough drive to the desert yesterday. And I just laughed. I really did laugh. And I did laugh at it. And I did say, I said, well, I could have black hair again. It got worse as we kept talking. But I did say, I could have black hair if I wanted. He goes, yeah, but it wouldn't be as thick. He was a hairdresser too, so he knows. So then we went on to other discussions, family issues and things. But as I was driving after that conversation, I was like, oh my God, this is my talk. This is it. There's my conscious mind that knows what it knows. And then there's the other side of my mind, my subconscious mind, that remembers how handsome I was. Trust me, I think I'm handsome now too. But, yes, thank you. But, thank you, that's so sweet. And I got a new headshot that just came out, just got it taken last week. I was like, not bad. I was really happy, because I haven't been happy with pictures. That's not the point of this talk. So anyway, so I'm thinking about this, and what Lori had told me about the marriage, I was like, I have two sides of my life that I have not married as well as I should. I have my conscious mind that knows what it knows, and then I have my subjective mind, my subconscious mind, that knows a lot of crap. Anybody else have a lot of stuff in there? And as I was thinking about it, I was like, is there a part of me that feels like I have lost my looks? And I was like, who just said yeah? Maybe you're answering for yourself. My answer was yes. I was like, yeah, I am aware of that. I am aware of that. I am aware that I don't have this jet black hair. I just have hair that I have now, which I have nice hair. But I was like, how much of this still informs this? And how much of this do I still live in my life? And I'll be really honest, I do have pride in what I look like. And there's this part of me that I wonder, is it really just because of that I am so conscious, my conscious mind of what I look like? And then I went deeper. And I thought, all right, James, you can't give an entire talk about your looks. Although I could, but I won't. So, you getting this, Kevin? Yeah. So I went deeper, and I was like, how much of who I used to be as a person is still here? Now I get emotional. And I thought to myself, who I am today has the dark, thick, rich hair and the chiseled features, deeply in a soul way. And I do not let who I may have been yesterday inform who I am today, to the best of my ability. But there's still moments, don't you find? There's still moments you fall back on old behaviors. There are moments you fall back on old beliefs that you may have had. And there are moments that those beliefs take over and you suddenly start believing you're that person that's not all that anymore. And so as I was putting this talk together, I had to ask myself, how much of who I am is predicated on what I was? And as I said earlier, how much of who I am is predicated on my wanting to fight against who I was? None of them are valid. They're all manufactured. They're all based on the relative world, because there is something inside of me that I know, the person I really know myself to be, that is not any of that and is not predicated on anything, but it's just truth. And I teach this all week. So when we got to what is God, and I started asking myself, well, if I am God, then how much of all of this really even matters? Is this just not the playground we live in? Is this just not the playground of life? And we get to live however we want and do whatever we want? And how many of you have really ever done something really stupid in your life? All of us. Doug, you can put your hand up. You can put both up. How many of us have done like really stupid things? Really stupid things, and then thought that's who we were? No, it's not. It's what we did with who we were based on who we thought we are. I have to go back and watch that. It's what we did with who we were based on who we thought we are. And let me be the one to be here to tell you, you are not your past. Amen, sister. You are not your past. You are not your past beliefs. You're not even yesterday's beliefs. You're not even the beliefs you came in here with. All of that has no play the minute you step into conscious mind. The minute you step into that absolute truth and knowing who you are, so that when it comes up, and I have to say I really did mostly laugh at my Uncle Al when he said all of that. I mostly found it funny. But there was a part of me that was like, yeah, I miss that hair. I miss that chiseled face. Can I tell you what I did when I got to the desert too? I turned my computer on and went back to a picture of me in 42nd Street where my hair was really black because they hennaed it blacker than it really even was, which is probably what he remembers, which was fake. But I went back and looked at that and I went, now or when? When am I going to, and here's the point, when am I going to finally, fully take that and this and marry them together? From a conscious place of knowing, where I am not relegated by that or this, where there is something that sees all of it and says, here's who you truly are. Because ultimately, even this marriage, you know, when we talked about marriage in the old days, when I was a wedding singer, it was mostly Christian weddings. And it was all about what God put together, no man can put asunder. Well, I can take that quote now and say, what God, what the universe, what this quantum field of pure intelligence has created in you cannot be put asunder from what you do with your two aspects of consciousness. Your conscious mind and your subjective mind coming together finally, making a bond and saying all of it is good. All of it is God. All of it is who you truly are. So it is time for us to walk hand in hand, as Kevin sang. It's time for us to walk mind in mind. For us not to be run by our subconscious mind because we haven't taken the time, as James Hollis shows us, to live an examined life, to pay attention to everything, to see that I could have a little button still somewhere installed that thinks I've gotten old looking. And I have. I am older looking. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, could you still do West Side Story? Because the movie just came out. And I was like, yeah, with an oxygen tent on either side of the stage. I was like, they said, no, but do you think you could still do it physically? And I went, no, I couldn't. I couldn't dance that anymore, to be perfectly honest. But you know what? Probably 2 weeks ago, I'd have told you, yes, I could. Because there was some stuff I was ignoring. I was like, is it okay to get older? Is it okay to get older? Does that mean I buy into I can't dance that anymore? No, I just know I haven't done the work to be able to still dance it at 67. Could I dance it at 70 if I started now? If it was starting here, starting now, I will be able to dance riff at 70. But I don't want to. I almost didn't, right, Doug? I didn't want to dance it then that much. Why would I suddenly want to do it at 70? So walking mind in mind means that you are willing to take everything that's happened in your life, everything, and I do mean everything, and marry it to a conscious mind that knows who it is, that knows that you are the very presence of God. So I have a question for you. Next slide. What are you carrying around in your memory that is still refusing to hold the hand of your present self? What are you carrying around from your past that refuses to let your conscious mind tell it the truth? It's a very provocative question to ask yourself. I have some answers for myself, and you should have some answers for yourself. Because once you get that answer, once you realize, yeah, I haven't been able to put that down. I haven't reconciled this. I haven't seeing the truth of this. I'm still in the emotional baggage of it. I still feel what it feels like. When we say forgive everything, that's what that means. I have let go of everything. I have forgiven it all. Him, her, them, they, everybody. And I remember the day Jerome Robbins died, and I thought, I could probably forgive him now. He's dead. And it was so sarcastic, but I really meant it. I was like, I had held so much against that man. And then when I really look back consciously, I'm like, what was I angry about? That he hired me to star in a show on Broadway? And then beat it into me because I was such a lazy, arrogant actor, which I see now? It's true. If I can be clear about that in my conscious mind, now I've married it. Now I've taken it. I can live it now. I can live with it, from it, know it. And there are many more things where that came from. But that's our work. What are you still carrying around that you have not allowed your conscious mind to take, embrace, show you who you are, and then let you move on in your life? And I do mean move on in a big, big, big way. So the title of my talk was Now or When. So here's the deal. You can do it now, but I'm not going to say you can do it later. Because if you don't do it now, you're not going to do it. It's just the way it goes. That's why Now or When is really the title that I wanted. Not if not now, when. It's now or when. Because it's always going to be now. And you're either going to decide to make your life better. You're either going to decide who you are truly and live from that. You're either going to marry everything that's come up with you, for you, about you, to this moment, and marry it to a mind that knows the truth of who you are, and live from that as this solid, strong, grounded truth seeker and knower. Or this is going to constantly be over here. And it's always going to be following you. It's always going to be who you are. And it runs the show because it has a lot more going for it than a mind that doesn't really pay attention. So now, or how about now? Or now? It's really up to you to choose. When we move into 2022, our theme will be action. It's going to be time for all of us to take action in our lives, to really create the lives we want to be living from the place of knowing who's actually living that life. Namaste.